Imagine investing $900 in a company, only to watch it drop to less than $9. That's not a bad day on the stock market. That's what actually happened to thousands of investors in Wish. This online retailer was once valued at $18 billion, competing with giants like Amazon and Walmart. Their CEO boldly predicted they'd become a trillion-dollar marketplace. Fast forward just 3 years, and they sold for barely $173 million, a staggering 99% collapse. How does a company fall this hard, this fast? Stick around, because the story of Wish's spectacular rise and catastrophic fall is one of the wildest business disasters in recent history. Wish operates as an online shopping platform that's built its reputation on offering incredibly inexpensive products, primarily targeting budget-conscious shoppers across more than 60 nations worldwide. The items available aren't exactly premium brands or exceptionally crafted. Far from it, but their pricing is virtually impossible to beat, and there's undeniably a substantial audience for exactly that kind of shopping experience. There was a period, not too long ago, when Wish stood as one of the fastest expanding and most exciting businesses in the e-commerce space. Industry publications were speculating whether this could become the next Walmart or Amazon. Back in 2015, their chief executive made the audacious claim that Wish would eventually transform into the world's second or third trillion-dollar marketplace. Quite a declaration considering their annual revenue barely reached $50 million at the time. True to his word, he pursued that vision relentlessly. Within just a few years, Wish climbed to become one of the world's most frequently downloaded applications, expanding their customer base to exceed 100 million monthly active shoppers by 2020 and pulling in more than $2.5 billion in annual revenue. In December of that year, they secured over $1 billion through their initial public offering, achieving a company valuation of $14 billion. 1 month later, their market value soared to approximately $18 billion. Then everything collapsed. Wish has endured one of the most severe downfalls of any major company in recent years, demonstrated by virtually every important metric I can examine. Their revenue plummeted from $2.5 billion down to just $287 million. Monthly active users crashed from over 100 million to a mere 11 million. Nearly all of Wish's stock market value evaporated. In early 2021, purchasing a single share would have cost you over $900. Today, that same share trades in the single digits, meaning investors who bought at the peak have witnessed more than 99% of their investment disappear. By February 2024, the company was acquired by a Singapore-based firm for $173 million. And I need to emphasize this, less than 1% of their peak valuation just 3 years prior. It's an absolutely wild story. So in this video, I'm diving into the complete rise and fall of Wish, examining what fueled their explosive growth and what triggered such a devastating collapse. Quick favor before we dive deeper. If you're enjoying this deep dive in a company's documentary, smash that like button and subscribe. Technology and innovation. Perhaps the single most significant factor behind their initial explosion was technological innovation. To understand this, we need to look at co-founder and original CEO Peter Szulczewski. He's arguably one of the most self-assured business executives I've researched for this channel. He studied at the University of Waterloo in his Canadian hometown. His family had relocated there from Poland when he was 11. After graduating in 2004, he joined Google as a software engineer working on algorithms. 5 years later, he left Google to work independently on his own code. I can't explain all the technical complexities, but essentially he created a system that effectively analyzed people's browsing behavior to anticipate what products they might purchase. This kind of technology is incredibly valuable. They named it context logic, and it became the technological foundation for building Wish. He actually registered the company under the name Context Logic when he established it in 2010 with former university classmate Danny Zhang. Their initial team members came from the mathematics department of their alma mater, and the entire operation was heavily technology-focused. Initially, they used that algorithm to develop an application that essentially operated as a wish list. That's where the name originated. It would display various products from different websites that users would likely want to purchase. The more people used it, the more precise the recommendations became, And that's one of the core features that made Wish so incredibly popular. Direct merchant integration. In 2013, online sellers began offering their products directly through the Wish platform. And these items typically sold quickly because Wish was presenting them to consumers most likely to make a purchase. This attracted even more merchants to the platform. Can you see how that ecosystem evolved and how technology drove the entire mechanism? Mobile-first strategy, another crucial factor in their success, and these are going to move quicker now, was that Wish was designed specifically for mobile devices. They report that over 90% of user engagement and transactions occur through the mobile application. It functions somewhat like social media with that addictive quality where you scroll through personalized recommendations, constantly discovering new items that keep your mind engaged. More than 70% of their sales don't involve any search function. They come from people finding things recommended to them. Unbeatable pricing. Next up would be probably the most apparent factor: rock-bottom prices. Wish is essentially engineered for shoppers hunting for extreme bargains who aren't overly concerned about quality. They've been called the dollar store of the internet. Prices are exceptionally low because products ship directly from third-party sellers, the vast majority located in China. It's estimated that 94% of their vendors operate from that country. So despite the company's San Francisco headquarters, most purchases originate from lower-quality Chinese manufacturing facilities. Aggressive marketing. Finally, a substantial portion of their success stems from relentless marketing. For a period, they ranked among Google's largest advertisers and became the single biggest advertiser on Facebook and Instagram. In 2017, they signed a 3-year, $30 million sponsorship agreement with the NBA's Los Angeles Lakers. And coincidentally, in 2020, Wish's peak year, LeBron James and his teammates won the NBA championship with the Wish logo displayed prominently on their uniforms. In fact, sales and marketing represented by far their largest expenditure. In 2020, they invested $1.7 billion in it, with 96% dedicated to acquiring new customers. I should note that these figures are potentially troubling because they prevented profitability despite the company's massive presence and promise. That year, the company recorded losses of $745 million. The strategy here, similar to many other startups, was to invest everything possible into building a user base, developing the business, and transitioning to profitability later once everything was firmly established. But things haven't unfolded according to that plan, moving to Wish's decline, and I'd argue this has been one of the more humiliating corporate collapses in recent memory. The pandemic effect. First, I feel obligated to mention the pandemic. Everyone was confined to their homes, so more consumers shopped online at retailers like Wish. The numbers align perfectly with 2020 being their strongest year, then beginning to decline in 2021 after restrictions lifted. This is definitely part of the narrative, but I don't believe it's as significant a factor as it might appear. Wish was steadily expanding before the pandemic and fell to levels considerably below their pre-pandemic baseline. So the numbers don't align perfectly, and there's clearly much more to this story. Reduced marketing investment. Another reason behind Wish's decline is drastically reduced marketing expenditure. In 2021, digital advertising costs skyrocketed across the board, and Wish responded by slashing their spending. But remember, all that money they poured into Instagram and Facebook advertisements was how they maintained relevance and attracted countless new customers. Lower advertising commitment translated to decreased sales and ultimately a diminished operation. By 2022, their logo had disappeared from those Lakers jerseys. Their advertisements weren't appearing on people's social media feeds nearly as frequently, and consumers started forgetting about Wish entirely. Poor product quality. Probably a positive development for many people, because I have to ask, how many of you have actually been satisfied with your Wish.com experiences? Based on reviews I've encountered and their overall reputation, they're not very well regarded. Having an online equivalent of a dollar store is probably a reasonable concept, but I'm not even sure that accurately characterizes Wish, because to me, their standards have been significantly lower than any dollar store. This brings me to my next point: inferior products. Tell me if you disagree, but much of the merchandise sold on Wish is simply terrible. I don't know how else to describe it. It's become such a phenomenon that people started using Wish.com version to describe any cheap imitation, like calling Mountain Lightning a Wish.com version of Mountain Dew. The Chinese factories producing these items have deceived countless consumers into purchasing worthless junk. You might receive a lower-grade version of what was advertised, the wrong color or size, something that doesn't function or breaks immediately, illegal knockoffs, or products featuring copyrighted material they shouldn't have. Wish has unfortunately become infamous for this kind of issue. It's gotten so severe that even at such dramatic discounts, people are avoiding the platform. Wish has a track record of listing dangerous or inappropriate products. The French government actually banned them temporarily for violating consumer protection regulations. I could continue discussing this, but my assumption is that many viewers have had disappointing experiences with Wish, either receiving defective products or experiencing the next issue on my list. Unreliable shipping. Most products they sell ship from China, so delivery could take weeks, if it arrives at all. People have received empty packages or nothing whatsoever. At the absolute minimum, when purchasing something, you want confidence that you'll receive it, but the probability of that happening with Wish is nowhere near as high as you'd expect. That's embarrassing, right? In Wish's intense focus on becoming a trillion-dollar corporation, they allowed many things to deteriorate at the customer's expense. Simply put, they should have implemented better merchant monitoring with stricter regulations and more oversight, along with more dependable customer service. It's as if they created desire for attractive-looking products, but then failed to deliver them properly. Competition. The final factor on my list is competition. New companies like Shine and Temu have emerged. They have their distinctions, but they're also selling ultra-low-priced merchandise shipped from China. I don't have many additional insights about them here, but currently they're substantially larger than Wish. To summarize in my own assessment, Wish has been a complete disaster. Unless something dramatic occurs, their legacy will be defined by dissatisfied customers, a negative reputation, and billions in lost capital. In total, Wish has lost more than $3 billion over the past decade. It's uncertain whether they ever had a sustainable business model, and at this stage, especially given their shrinking scale, it appears unlikely they'll ever recover those losses. They have made attempts to salvage their situation, but everything feels so futile. In 2021, they launched a standards program to enhance product quality. The following year, they completely overhauled their branding for the first time with a new logo and color scheme. That same year, it made headlines when Peter Sulkowski resigned from his CEO position after leading the company since its inception. Then just 7 months later, his replacement was also replaced. So in 2022, Wish technically had 3 different CEOs, along with other significant management changes. There have been new strategies and new directions at the company, but none particularly effective. Wish continues struggling and hasn't demonstrated any genuine signs of recovery. Let me know in the comments. What's your take on Wish? Have you ever purchased something from them? And if so, what was your experience? Do you view them as an excellent source for cheaper, lower quality merchandise, or just a complete waste of time and money? Do you think there's any possibility for Wish to revive their business? And what would they need to do to make that happen? I realize I've been fairly critical of the company here, so let me know if you think I've been too harsh, and share any other thoughts you have about Wish in the comments.